Hey guys, what's up? It's Deniz from Deniz World of Bodybuilding. Today I want to talk about Chris Bumstead because lots of people recently talked about the RX Muscle video that Dave Palomo made with Chris Bumstead and his coach Ian, and they talked about, which I found crazy. You couldn't think of this 10 years prior or even 5 years ago. You couldn't think about pro bodybuilders, not former but active pro bodybuilders who are on that Olympia level, openly talking about steroids. I'm not talking about, the undercover interviews they did where they didn't show any names. I talk about going on there openly without your official name, your official face, with video, and talking about juice. That's crazy. You'd have to take your hat off to that. It's just way more open than it used to be, Nowadays people know it's juice is involved before they even go into a gym. But that's another story. Today I want to talk about Chris Bumstead. So they talked about his cycle, and his coach said it's much for him if he takes in his off season, if he takes 500 milligram of test alone, And he just, that means, he's just talking about 500 milligrams of test. He doesn't talk about other components. So in theory, he could take 6 different things, each 500 milligrams, that would add up to 3 grams. But I don't think it's that way, but in theory, it could be that way. So he says, 500 milligram of test on its own, singly, just looking on test, 500 is a lot for him. So that's one point, which lots of people don't realize or check out or hear out. And another thing is that really I like, and I think is great to be that way in classic physique, is that he's not using insulin and GH. Obviously Chris Bumstead has an autoimmune disease where he's not able to put his body through some of the stuff people are using and doing. So he kind of has to be more healthy if he wants to do this for a longer time. But he also seems to be more healthy, And he also said that even if he wouldn't have that autoimmune, disease, he wouldn't go for that top, division and compete in the open bodybuilding division and go for the open Mr. Olympia. And I think that's a great thing, because I think, he's a classic physique guy. He has that classic physique. I think it would look that, good to be open for him, because I'm not bashing him, but, I think if he would go open, you would see his lack of, his torn biceps and stuff more than you see it now with a less amount of mass. So I think for him, he has the body for classic. He has the structure for classic. I don't think the open division would suit him well. Even here you see with the body he has right now and the mass he has right now that he really lacks on those 2 biceps which he tore. So going open wouldn't help him much. Because let's put it that way, arms is a very, very important body part. Everybody talks about the lats and the legs, and they say that this is what wins contests, which is pretty true. But do you remember the last time you seen Mr. Olympia that had bad biceps, bad arms? I don't ever remember. I don't think there is. So I think he would definitely do amazingly good at the open if he would keep that structure, that lines. But I think with nowadays bodybuilding, because that, he is greatly conditioned and stuff, I think that suits him better in classic, because right now, it's not the 90s where it's all about conditioning. So he wouldn't fit, the era wouldn't fit. So even if he would go open, he would go the more classic way, and that would not fit into today's bodybuilding. Today's bodybuilding is more about mass at the open. If you They are bigger than the guys in the 90s if you compare those guys, but look at those videos of the 90s. The conditioning was number one. They looked, for me personally, they looked way better there. Not because they were bigger, they were smaller actually, but the conditioning combined with the mass they had, I think that was amazing. That was amazing, and I think that Chris Bumstead would more fit in that thing, but perfectly he fits into classic physique. So I think that's his division. That's more healthy for him, even more with the disease, and that's just right. So what do you think about his cycle? I think it's possible if you check him. He's not Deniz Wolf in his prime. He's not Ronnie Coleman talking about mass. So obviously he probably takes less than those 5'5" guys who weigh 300 pounds in off season. And I think it's good that way to have the classic physique and being so popular. So subscribe to my channel. What do you think about that? This video was about Chris Bumstead, his cycle. So not that much at all. Not GH, not insulin, and also how you would do in nowadays open compared to how you could do in the 90s, and if it would be good for him to switch to open. I don't think so. Subscribe to my channel, write in the comments what do you think, and also follow me on Instagram. I do have Instagram. Some people are writing this in the comments and they don't follow me. Then after asking me, they don't follow me there. Just go there, Deniz WORLDOFBB, exact same name as my YouTube channel. Bye.